In West Virginia, sports aren't just a game. They are a ritual passed down through every hollow and hilltop. We celebrate the legends who define our state. This is Game On.
Thanks for tuning in this week. This is Game On, coming to you from the Stone Church studio. I'm Anthony Lewis, and we appreciate you tuning in this week. In the studio with me, Jay Hewitt, Autumn Martin. Good to see you guys. Hope that everybody had a great sports weekend.
Good to see you too, Anthony.
Yep.
I had a great sports weekend. Coming up later in the show, Adam Harris. I like to dub him the Appalachian Wrestling Aficionado. Will be joining us to talk a little bit about WrestleMania. Also, the Bogies Trivia Question of the Week. Make sure you keep it tuned in for that. But also, we have some sound bites. I went to Morgantown over the weekend and visited with, went to Coach Ford's memorial service. So we have some sound bites from that. I learned a few things about him, which was a great service. Probably about 100 guys showed up.
Wow.
So
doesn't surprise
not only football guys, there were basketball guys, there were gymnastics, the women from the gymnastics teams, a lot of people. But before we get into all that, Jay, as we were talking this morning, we were in a group text and, hey, what do you guys want to talk about on the show? And you guys mentioned this young man, Mr. Zayden Ranson. And Jay, I'll let you take it from here. But from everything you've told me, except for the fact that I found out just a few minutes ago that he hit a grand slam against my Red Dragons, I'm going to hold that against him. But Zayden, thanks for joining us on Game On.
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for joining us, Zayden. We're lucky enough to have Zayden on today. Zayden is like I think at this point, Zayden, you're probably for sure a West Virginia sports high school legend. You're not done yet, so you're like a living legend kind of, and you've got a lot to write left of your story. But thanks so much for joining us today. Zayden is a first-team AAA or first-team All-State, three-time basketball player. Correct me if I'm wrong, Zayden. He's a first-team All-State, three-time baseball player. He has recently been named the Hardman Award winner, which is given to the top amateur athlete in the state. I think there's only been like a couple high school athletes that they've given that to since the year 2000. That usually goes to like a Pat White or some type of spectacular college athlete, that's a huge star. So that's a very prestigious and rare award for Zayden to get. He also was recently named the top scholar athlete in West Virginia. That's given to one student, all classes, boy or male or female, excuse me. So Zayden's just written an unbelievably impressive resume here at Charleston Catholic. So Zayden, talk a little bit about your basketball and baseball career, if you don't mind. I know you're a fantastic soccer player too, but maybe talk about what is your favorite sport? You're so good at both. And I coached Zayden, not to go on too long here, but I coached Zayden for 3 years in middle school basketball, and I knew he was a special athlete. When he came in as a sixth grader, he had special hands. Just when you can see a kid, sometimes you grab the ball and just snatch it up like Kevin Jones or something. So I remember telling Jeff Blades, the head coach, has anybody looked at Ranson's hands? And I remember Jeff, who had a kid on the team and coached the boys for years in Little League and everything, said you should see him hit a baseball. But anyway, Zayden, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about what's your favorite sport and why, and also what do you think is like the number one thing that's helped? I know you've got fantastic parents, you've got special parents, but maybe talk about the one thing that's really helped catapult you in your athletic career. What's been like the number one thing that has helped you or benefited you, you think, that's made a difference?
Yes, sir. Well, thanks for talking me up there.
You're welcome, sir.
But yeah, I'm super, super blessed to be able to play, baseball and basketball. I love those sports very dearly. I wouldn't say I have a favorite. It really just depends on, what season I'm in. Whenever I'm in basketball, I'm going to say basketball, but whenever I'm in baseball, I'm going to say baseball. But I'd say, the biggest thing that really has helped me over the years, I'm going to go ahead and give you two answers. I'm going to say experience. I feel like I've experienced a lot, a lot of losses, a lot of wins, a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges. And especially with the guys I've grown up with my whole life that I'm playing high school with now. I think that really makes our team, one of the top teams in the state almost every year. It's just that experience and that chemistry we have together. But not that we just won every time, but, we've experienced loss. We've experienced state championship losses. But we've also won a state championship, in both sports. So I think that really helps. But I'd say, the biggest thing really is my mindset and my mental health. You got to have fun playing these sports. I mean, they're sports. You choose to do this thing. You can walk away at any moment. And I don't think a lot of us realize that, how we choose to do this and live this life. And so whenever I look at it like that, I try to, just have as much fun as I can while I'm doing it with my best friends. I know I have a future at Deerfield that's already planned out. So that really helps me, kind of take the pressure off my shoulders a little bit and just enjoy the last little moments. But I'd say, that mental health, that mental mindset, you don't want to identify yourself with your sport. You have another life outside of sports. I think that's really important. And I learned that. I'd say I learned that my freshman year of baseball. To be honest, I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself to try and be a standout player. And, if I had a bad game, if I had one bad game out of every 5 games, I'd focus on that one bad game out of the 4 good games.
Right.
And I kind of just beat myself up a lot. And then I kind of started to notice, whenever I, didn't put that pressure on myself and just relaxed and, let the game come to me, I started to even play better, but I started to feel better. Whenever I kind of detached my identity with being a baseball player, and then, kind of just being like a good person or like a good scholar as well, focusing on school and not just being like, oh, I'm just a baseball player. Because, that's not how it should be.
Absolutely.
So, focusing on that mental health, mental mindset, having fun with your buddies, just winning with your friends is definitely what I'd say has helped me the most with my sports journey so far.
Love that. Hey, Zayden, this is Autumn Martin. I have watched you play basketball quite a few times for the past couple years. You are an impressive athlete, and congratulations. This is a huge honor, this award. Your name is now alongside some West Virginia greats such as Randy Moss, Jerry West, Pat White, etc., who also won this award. How does it feel to be amongst that group of elite West Virginia athletes?
I mean, it truly is amazing. It almost feels unreal, whenever I, think to myself that I'm even, considered to be on a list with those legendary athletes is, such an honor, such a blessing. But with that, I feel like I do need to, represent the state well in my future. I feel like it I have some responsibility, to be honest, to be a good representative and try to represent the state as well as I can in my athletic and just journey overall in life. So, but it is a really, really great honor, and I'm so blessed. I couldn't have done it without my family, my coaches, or my teammates. So.
Right. Well, I can honestly say, winning the Hardman Award and also winning the Scholar Athlete Award, I think that is a testament to your character. We're definitely extremely proud of you. And once again, congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Well, Zayden, we appreciate you joining us here on Game On and taking the time. And it sounds like you've got a bright future, not only in the sports world, but academically as well. So congratulations on the awards. We'll see you at the awards ceremony, I believe, on May the 3rd.
Yes, sir.
You'll be attending? All right, perfect. So we will see you there, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. But thank you for taking time to join us on Game On this evening.
Keep it locked in. Game On will be right back after these messages.
Tony the Tailor is well known for having the best quality suits and jackets available anywhere. But our strength is actually our sophisticated footwear and casual wear. From Brax pants, LBM soft jackets, and Hagen shirts, Johnny O sportswear, DiBianco, Allen Edmonds, and Johnston & Murphy shoes, plus much more. We have what you need for work or at play. Tony the Tailor, downtown Charleston, or online at bestmastertailor.com.
As the game gets faster, stronger, more dynamic, your equipment has to keep up. Introducing the Riddell Axiom, the next evolution in football protection, designed to match the speed and strength of today's athlete. Contact West Virginia Riddell representative Casey Turley at 304-552-5960. 304-552-5960. Gear up, play smart, stay protected.
When your vehicle is damaged in an accident, it's not only the damage, it's the inconvenience that's the problem. David Smith Frame and Body Shop has over 35 years experience in the business of not only fixing your vehicle correctly, but to work with your insurance company in helping arrange a rental. It's all in the experience of the people at David Smith Frame and Body Shop that make it a good experience for you.
I hope you don't need us, but if you do.
Like Papa says, isn't it nice to know David Smith Frame and Body Shop is there for you?
We're back in action. You're listening to Game On.
Thanks for keeping it tuned in. We appreciate Mr. Zayden Ranson for joining us. He's had a historic career at Charleston Catholic, and we're excited to see what the future is for him. Don't forget, in the next segment, coming up later in the show, Adam Harris, who I have dubbed the Appalachian wrestling aficionado, is going to join us to talk a little about wrestling's biggest night, WrestleMania, which was over the weekend. Also, do not forget Bogies. Their trivia question of the week is coming up, so we have an opportunity to buy you lunch for a $15 gift card to Bogies coming up here later in the show. But joining us on the phone is Danielle Mung from the West Virginia Golf Association. We appreciate you taking the time and joining us for the Golf Association's weekly visit here on Game On. We appreciate their support of the show. And, of course, when the sun is shining, if you like to hit golf balls, you should be out doing that. And that's what the Golf Association will help you do with lots of great information, memberships, and opportunities to play courses around the great state of West Virginia. Danielle, how are you this evening?
I am great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So as we continue to battle between warm weather and snow here this spring in West Virginia, it's been a very typical spring here in the Mountain State. I have noticed, well, the golf tournaments have started, but I have noticed a lot more people at the driving range. We were out at a range the other day having a good time, and it was packed. But
yes, people are already starting to enjoy the game of golf, even on some of the chilly days. I noticed today it's a little bit chillier, but up here at the driving range where our office is located, it's still full. People are just dying to get out. Whether it's on the course or a local driving range, just to hit a few balls here and there.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the VIP card. What is the idea behind the VIP card, and what are some of the benefits from the membership that's involved there?
Yeah, so the idea behind the VIP card program is to encourage golf in the state of West Virginia by making it accessible and also affordable. We really want everyone around the state of West Virginia to be able to play golf and access some of those private courses that you would otherwise have to have a membership for. So the way that it works is when you purchase your West Virginia Golf Association membership, you're also getting the VIP card. So you can't really have one without the other. So I kind of like to say it's a bundle. But with that, you also get your USGA Gen Handicap Index. So we even have golfers that come to us and just want the handicap index. They don't really use the VIP card. So we have golfers that want it for all different reasons. But like I said, it's kind of like a bundle. You can't have one without the other. But yeah, so they'll get it. It comes with the membership, the VIP card, their handicap index. And with that membership, you get to play in our events. You'll get our e-newsletter, a monthly newsletter, and we also do a quarterly newsletter. But also, we're your main resource for all things West Virginia golf. So you have us in your back pocket at all times when you're one of our members. So the way it works is once you become a member and you get your VIP card, it has this year 65 courses listed in it. We have private courses, public courses, and resort courses. And each one of those courses, at the beginning of the year, they go in contract with us for their specific VIP rate and how many plays they would like to offer each year in the VIP card. So, for instance, like the Parkersburg Country Club. If you're not a member at Parkersburg Country Club, you can't play there unless you have the VIP card. So you can go there and you get 2 plays at Parkersburg Country Club, and I think they charge $100. But like I said, if you don't have the VIP card and you're not a member there, you would otherwise not have access to that course at all. So it gives you a chance to play courses that you wouldn't have a chance to play, and it's a little bit more affordable than just walking up and paying the everyday fee. But you have courses all over the state. You have Coonskin here, right where our office is located. It's on the VIP card. I think you save maybe $10 by having the VIP card. You have Glade Springs, and they even run a little bit more of a discounted rate in the fall months. Stonewall Resort, you've got Berry Hills, Edgewood. A lot of our state parks are listed in the course. So a big variety. You've got some of your smaller courses up to your elite courses like the Greenbrier. They're listed on there, all of their courses, all 3. And it's a really big savings there as well. So it's just it's, you play some of these courses one time and it pays for your membership. So speaking of cost, I guess we may as well talk about that too. You get all of that for $55. So, your membership to the Golf Association, your VIP card, your Gen Handicap Index, all of that for $55. And if you are a veteran, military, we offer discounts also for first responders. We just ask that you call us and order your VIP card or come in person rather than ordering online because we don't want people taking advantage of that discount online. So we do ask that if anyone wants to, use that benefit to just call or come in person to get their VIP card. But something else that we offer in addition to just the West Virginia card is the West Virginia and Virginia card. So it's a combo that we've partnered with Virginia. We get to offer their Virginia card, and it's only $20 additional, but you get to access, it's 125, maybe 127 Virginia courses.
Wow.
But in addition to that, there's like 53 of our courses listed in it as well. So you get additional West Virginia plays on top of that.
Oh.
So you pay $75 and you get all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only restriction there is you can't be a Virginia resident. You can be from any other state, just not Virginia, just because we want to keep their residents going to them to purchase their membership. Perfect. But other than that, you get all the same benefits as everything else that I've already talked about. It's the same membership. You just get a Virginia card in addition to your West Virginia card. So it's a really good deal if you like to golf in West Virginia and Virginia.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It seems like, if you golf a lot, if you play 4 or 5 times, that card's going to pay. You're going to pay for that card itself, and then you're going to start making some, major savings. So the card seems like a no-brainer for an active golfer.
Yeah, for sure. And this year we went with a new look. This year, I've only had 2 negative comments, so I think we're doing pretty good considering we passed out about 10,000. And I think we've already handed out maybe 8,000 of those 10,000. To have only 2 little negative comments about it.
Yeah, a majority of your clientele, a majority of your clientele is probably angry old men too. So that's probably like batting 1,000.
Yeah, well, the angry old men are the ones that really like it because I made it bigger for them. just so I can make, and it's not that much bigger. It fits in your golf bag. But the other one was more of like a credit card size that would fit in your pocket. But what was happening every year, we are replacing them, and we charge a small fee to replace. So I was trying to avoid that, but we were replacing so many because they're washing them in their pants. So I'm like, well, maybe if we make it so it fits in their golf bag, you know, that would kind of
there you go,
do away with that issue. But then we have bigger font. We could put a little bit more needed information in the card itself. So I'd call it a win. We like the look. We went with a fun, funky design this year. So it won't be like that every year, but the layout, I think we're going to keep it. It's, like I said, 2 out of like 8,000 some so far. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take that as a win.
Absolutely. Well, Danielle, we appreciate you joining us and telling us a little bit about the membership. I know you guys have a lot going on, especially throughout the rest of the summer. We appreciate you taking the time to talk with us here on Game On.
Yeah, anytime.
All right. When we come back, as I've dubbed him, the Appalachian Wrestling Aficionado, Adam Harris, will be on to talk a little bit about the big events at WrestleMania. We'll do that after this.
Text your questions or comments to 304-729-4465.
Wally's and Wimpy's Daily Sports Digest has just what you're looking for sports fans. Keep up with West Virginia high school sports, college sports, and even the pros. Subscribe for just $4 per month, and it gets delivered straight to your inbox. Oh, yeah! Go to WallyWimpySports.com.
Since 1913, one organization has been the heartbeat of the Greens in the Mountain State. Whether you're one of our 85 member clubs or among our 11,000 dedicated golfers, the West Virginia Golf Association is your home for the game. From preserving our rich history to promoting the next generation of players, we are your central source for all things golf. Join our community. Visit WVGA.org today.
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down.
Thanks for keeping it tuned in to Game On. And as most of the listeners know, I tend to bring up or reference professional wrestling in some form or fashion. And the biggest weekend in pro wrestling just passed us with WrestleMania. And joining me is my dear friend, Adam Harris, who I guess I could title you, Adam, as a Appalachian wrestling aficionado. Would that be a good title for you? Or
I'll take that. That's pretty good. You know, that's pretty good. I go to more wrestling around this area than most people probably do, and especially in the Appalachia area. So I'll take that. Thanks for having me on.
Also, Adam's the guy that if I run into weird things in the wild, like a few weeks ago or a few months ago, I text him a picture disc of a classy Freddie Blassie album. So he's the one that I text this type of stuff to that I actually know will appreciate and be able to digest and figure out what I'm sending to him. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. That's classic piece to find in the wild.
Yeah, I'm running into all kinds of wild stuff, but I appreciate you joining me. I know we joke around a lot about one day starting a pro wrestling podcast and all kinds of wild stuff, but I wanted to talk to you as we, again, WrestleMania this past weekend. As we get through it, I thought, let's get Adam on to talk about the biggest event of the year for pro wrestling. So first of all, I want to know, because you're an old school wrestling guy like myself, what are your thoughts on WrestleMania being 2 nights?
You know, I don't want to come off too much like I'm fighting against the automobile and I'm trying to bring back the horse and buggy or anything. You know, I just think it's too much. I mean, the more matches you have, the more you double up on the pageantry, I think the less it all means. But in this new era, obviously, they're monetizing every evening and every aspect of the event that they can. And so I just think it's the way things are going to go for now on. And in one way, it makes WrestleMania and SummerSlam, it makes them feel bigger. But at the same time, I think it just waters it all down a little bit.
I agree with you. I think it gives it more opportunity to have a stinker. You're doubling your opportunity to have some stinker matches, if that makes any sense.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And it wasn't like, WrestleMania didn't always have all bangers, I mean, even like all the way up through 8 and 9, even 10, there were some throwaway matches. There were some matches that didn't have great builds. And so they've done a good job of making sure everything on the card has a story. But with just such a crowded card, it's really hard to make everything feel special.
I agree. I agree with you. 2 nights. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the shocker of the weekend obviously was Brock Lesnar hinting at his retirement, leaving his boots and his gloves in the ring. And Paul, I was going to call him Paulie Dangerously. The whole deal.
Well, that's how we all remember him. That's us of a certain age remember him as Paulie Dangerously.
Yeah, him being very emotional, and they were hinting at a retirement. Are you buying or selling that?
Oh, man, good question. Good question. I got to say that the emotion seemed real to me. Brock, visibly, holding back tears, or at some points, I don't think he was even able to hold them back. And the same with Heyman. But yet we're still talking about 2 of the best workers in the history of the business. So would it surprise me if they come out tonight and maybe he confronts Roman, or maybe, maybe he has something to say about, Cody. And we also don't know what the status of Cody Rhodes is either. And I've heard people refer to Brock Lesnar as a, week in case of emergency, when they need a rating or they need to sell some tickets or something like that.
Right.
But I gotta say, it felt real to me, man. And if the way he goes out is putting over a future superstar, like Obafemi, they're already calling him the new next big thing. If this is how he goes out, then I have a lot of respect for him for sure.
When you make the term, for the listeners that are like, why are they talking pro wrestling? When you say the word putting over, explain that to the listeners, what that means as far as him putting over,
Yeah. So Obafemi is a hot young wrestler, new to the company, has had his run on like the developmental show, but yet they've moved him up to the main roster, which means he's on Netflix and he's on SmackDown every week, and they're really pushing him, to use the wrestling terminology.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, they've placed him up against Brock Lesnar, who has one of the best WrestleMania records of all time. I mean, I think his first WrestleMania was number 19, and we're at number 42. He certainly hasn't been at all of those, but we're talking about the guy who ended The Undertaker's winning streak at WrestleMania. And I thought about this because they highlighted that in the video package leading up to the match. And I thought about, a lot of people were not convinced that it was the right move to have Brock beat the streak of The Undertaker, which was 21-0 or 20-0, whatever it was. But man, that put Brock Lesnar on a different level,
mm-hmm.
and it made him sort of unstoppable. It meant Cody has to beat Brock before he can beat Roman. I mean, it just puts Brock in that level. And so for a guy whose WrestleMania reputation is so legendary, for him to even be at WrestleMania is a big deal. They opened the night on ESPN2 or whatever it was. That was pretty much the free quote unquote preview that they were using to entice audiences in. A recognizable name, Brock Lesnar. And he goes out by losing clean in the middle of the ring, 1, 2, 3, to a young superstar. And that just elevates Obafemi to a whole new level, to where he's automatically a top guy. He's gonna surpass the entire middle card now,
mm-hmm.
and probably going to be knocking on the door of one of these champions before too long.
Yeah, speaking of champions, they're still the Intercon. This is about where I really started to sit up in my seat during WrestleMania, was the ladder match. I like ladder matches. So Penta, still Intercontinental Champion, able to fend off 5 other guys. What'd you think of that match?
This is one that it was everything I expected it was going to be. A little bit of the car crash effect, it's just huge spot after huge spot, risky stuff. Rusev took an insanely scary bump with Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
But, one thing I noticed about this, and I think you'll appreciate it, and I was sitting there looking at all these guys, even J.D. McDonough was the whitest person in that whole match, and he's from Ireland, right? Is that right? Or Scotland? I mean, these were 5 people of color, international international competitors. This was a really super diverse match. And when it comes down to it, they all work together really well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and this I think it did a good job of highlighting everybody. I mean, and that's what these ladder matches have come to do. Everybody gets their tease that they might win it. And I was even thinking that it might be Javon Evans' moment. I mean, they've had the rocket ship strapped to him.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, the last moment, he was kind of the last one that Penta had to put away before he won the match. And Rusev did a great job of making everybody look good. That guy doesn't get enough credit. I know most people want him to be more dominant, but he's been very giving with his in-ring work.
You mentioned, obviously historically professional wrestling has not been kind to wrestlers of color. And
right.
But with that being said, we have a new U.S. champion with Trick Williams, who I love his gimmick. And I love the chant. You're over when you can get 50,000 people to chant, do your chant when you're coming in and they're playing along. That means you're over. And what that means is people are buying what you're selling as far as pro wrestling. What'd you think of his win and becoming the new U.S. champion?
Man, this Trick is a star. I feel like he has Dwayne Johnson levels of charisma and mic skills and promo ability. I think they've got a bright future with Trick Williams, despite WWE's reputation of not doing well succeeding with the push of black performers. They've got 2 lined up right now in Trick Williams and in Obafemi, who I hope are going to finally buck all those trends. But man, I think Trick is a star, and I think WrestleMania, it in some ways it puts the end to feuds, but more and more nowadays they have to keep that story going. And you saw that with the Cody Orton match, which I'm sure we're going to get to, but it's not everything's going to have a huge definitive end. And, while Trick made a huge statement here, this is kind of the beginning for him. This is a starting off point for Trick Williams on the next level. And so I expect to see big things from him. Is he a SmackDown? I have a hard time keeping the brands separate, but whatever, if it's Monday on Raw or SmackDown on Friday, I expect to see huge highlights, huge spotlight on Trick Williams.
And you mentioned Cody Rhodes, of course, is the son of one of my all-time favorites, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, Cody Rhodes, the son, and with his match with Randy Orton. And when you mentioned, like you said, usually that is the ending at WrestleMania to a storyline. They kept that one going, it seems like.
Yeah. And I think that was the right thing to do, honestly. I was really expecting them to pull the trigger and just give it to Randy. But in classic fashion, they found a believable way for Cody to win. I really don't know what they're doing on the Pat McAfee thing. We can talk about that more if you want to, but I don't really know why that went the way it went. But I hope the video package before this was great. And they hadn't really leaned on Cody and Orton's history too much. Mm-hmm. They hadn't shown a lot of old footage of when they were in a group, a faction called the Legacy together. I think that's what it was called, the Legacy, along with Ted DiBiase Jr. I mean, and that was a dominant faction, and those two came up together, and Orton really helped get Cody Rhodes over in the early parts of his career. And so and for some reason they didn't seem to acknowledge any of that until the video package before the match. Mm-hmm. And I felt like it should have been that all along. They unnecessarily put Pat McAfee in this and just watered it all down. And for what reason, I don't really know. But I think that it's going to be good, and they're going to get to that Randy Orton title win, I think, eventually. And I think this maybe is part of what is going to help carry us on to the next pay-per-view. It's not an ending point. It's not a starting point. It's maybe just we're in the middle of this story, I think.
Right. And you mentioned Pat McAfee, and I feel like it did feel like they kind of just squeezed him in, maybe just for ratings. Obviously, McAfee is a huge star in sports and sports entertainment. I feel like, I agree with you. I felt like they just kind of squeezed in that celebrity aspect, which WrestleMania is known for, obviously.
Absolutely. And famously, I was just listening to a review of WrestleMania 2, which was the one where they tried to go to 3 different cities on the same night.
Yeah.
And man, they just stacked it with celebrities to the point where it's just like, then they're like, and this person, and this person, and this person, you know, and it makes, with every celebrity they add, it makes each celebrity feel less special.
Right.
And I feel like this had symptoms of that too, you know, when they're going down and showing the football players, and Gronkowski is there, and what the comedian and everything, you know, it's just like, yeah, big deal.
Yeah, it was just
I don't think it means that much to the average wrestling fan. It was different when, like, Jenny McCarthy was walking Diesel down the ring, you know, or Pam Anderson was walking Shawn Michaels to the ring. It was different. That was like a highlighted feature on the show, you know. Meanwhile, I don't like getting Jelly Roll involved. You know, I think Little Yachty is doing a good job because that matches Trick's character.
Mm-hmm.
But celebrity for the sake of celebrity is not what I want in my pro wrestling.
Right. We got about 30 seconds, and I definitely want to ask you an old school question. Demolition goes into the WWE Hall of Fame. What are your thoughts on Demolition and finally getting them into the Hall of Fame?
Man, well deserved. One of the greatest tag teams of all time. I've had the pleasure of meeting those guys a couple times over my course of working in the indie wrestling scene. And I got to say, nobody expected it, but the Demolition tribute gear that Nia Jax and Lash Legend wore was phenomenal, I thought. You know, the white was a great contrast, yes. And I just think they made it look tough as hell. It was really, really good. I thought that was a nice touch.
Great stuff. Our Appalachian wrestling aficionado, Adam Harris. And coming up after this break, we'll have the Bogies Trivia Question of the Week. We'll do that after this.
Keep it locked in. Game On will be right back after these messages.
Is your business struggling with leads or brand recognition? 304 Digital Media can take your business to the next level. We specialize in cutting-edge websites, AI automation, and strategic branding campaigns, alongside expert social media management. It's time to end your frustration with marketing and partner with the pros at 304 Digital Media. Start your transformation today by visiting digitalmarketingwv.com.
Since 1913, one organization has been the heartbeat of the greens in the Mountain State. Whether you're one of our 85 member clubs or among our 11,000 dedicated golfers, the West Virginia Golf Association is your home for the game. From preserving our rich history to promoting the next generation of players, we are your central source for all things golf. Join our community. Visit WVGA.org today.
Thanks for keeping it tuned in. It's now time for the Bogies Trivia Question of the Week. 304-729-4465. Again, 304-729-4465 for a $15 gift card to Bogies Barbecue. And Autumn, you have that question for us this week?
I sure do. Okay. What West Virginia native was the highest NFL draft pick in history? And here's a hint. He was selected 6th by the Bears.
It wasn't Kevin White, because Kevin White is not a West Virginia native. But if you know that, text it in, 304-729-4465. I thought that was a good one.
It
With
is
the
a good
draft coming up
this
weekend, I thought that was a pretty good question. So if you know it, 304-729-4465.
So, Anthony, earlier you mentioned that you went to Garrett Ford's service.
I did. I drove to Morgantown on Friday, and so it was a quick turnaround. I didn't even go to the spring game. So I went to Coach Ford's service, slept for 3 or 4 hours, and I got in line for the gear sale. I went over. I'll tell you about that experience as well. But what a really nice service. And so I did get the opportunity to work with, and you worked with him too.
I did.
You were playing in interactions with Coach Ford, but I had the opportunity to work with him, and what a kind man. And it showed. I mean, everyone that got up and spoke about him spoke highly, not only about, you know, his personal accomplishments. He played in the NFL. He was the 3rd African-American player ever at WVU, all those accolades. But it was more about how he took it upon himself to nurture and mentor players. And that was the part that really stood out to me as far as his call of to work with student athletes and help them get through their time at West Virginia with degrees.
Yeah, he saved a lot of guys. I feel like, you know, he was a dad to a lot of guys that didn't have a father figure in their life, and he was just one of those special people. Like I said last week, I mean, he was a legendary figure at WVU, and any athlete that you talk to back through the 80s and the 90s and the early, even, you know, through the early 2000s, he made a huge impact in their life. He was just one of those guys that you respected and listened to, and when he walked into the room, you know you better sit up straight and give the ultimate respect.
So one of the topics that always comes up in WVU sports and folklore is the fact that Major Harris left a year early and went to the NFL draft, and of course we know the history there. But I had the opportunity to talk to Major, and I got a soundbite here, but I found this very interesting. Here's what Garrett Ford said to Major Harris about going to the NFL draft.
Probably the biggest decision I made as far as with my career when I left school early. And Coach Ford was the one in my ear saying, Mage, I don't think you're ready to go. Should come back. Everybody else, Mage, leave. So when I look back on my career, he was the only one basically, you know, telling me, Mage, you should stay another year. So when I look back on it and the way my career went, I can honestly say that throughout my career, he had my best interests at heart. And really, all the decisions that he told me I should have made, if I would have made them, I probably would have stayed.
So he was the one that told me to stay. And, of course, he didn't take – you know how that plays out.
Right, wow.
A lot of times you should probably take someone's advice. But anyway, Coach Ford, great man. It was a great service. And the gear sale, what a mess that is. I mean, I got there at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was like 20th in line.
Wow.
So I usually go in just to get stuff for my annual fundraiser. So I was able to get one of those 1965 throwback uniforms. And then I will tell you, too, on a personal level, I run to the shoes because you can get the team-issued shoes for like $20 or $30 or something. I did get a couple pairs of shoes. But you want to talk about a madhouse. Those people are just tearing through that stuff.
I bet.
And I was there at 4 in the morning. The first guy in line got there at noon. On Friday.
Gosh.
Wow. But he was after one of those 1965 throwback helmets.
Wow.
And he got one. And you were allowed to get one helmet. And I did grab a helmet for a dear friend of mine who's actually a sponsor of this show, the Smiths, Anthony Smith, David Smith Automotive.
Yeah.
Anthony's a great guy and a big collector. He was on a cruise, and he's like, can you get me a helmet? So I grabbed a helmet. I usually don't mess around with the helmets, but I did just for his sake. But
was this at the Pushkar Center?
So they moved it over to the Touchdown Terrace this year because they had the service in there on Friday night in the IPF. So it was tight, and you know there were probably 500 people in line, and probably 200 people got something.
Wow.
So is everything just like really affordable, or?
So they make the jerseys are like $50. These are all game used items, game used jerseys, game used. You know, pants, you know, the collectors like this stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also like the shoes I bought are brand new.
Yeah.
You know, and the helmets, you know, there's only so many of those Coal Rush helmets, the Country Roads helmets. And once that stuff goes out the door, that's the end of them. So it was interesting to watch. There were a lot of upset people because people don't get stuff. But, you know, I was there at 4 in the morning.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, I didn't.
That's dedication.
I didn't
Anthony.
sleep well. I was, like I said, and what's crazy, I didn't even really do it for personal gain. It was I got the shoes, but you know we got it for the stuff that we'll auction off at our event for the kids at Christmas. So that's that's how that plays out.
Well, that's awesome.
So then I got in the car and left, but the spring game went on, and so apparently. I was able to kind of go back and I talked to several people over the weekend and gave me a little bit of a rundown, but it sounds like Michael Hawkins Jr., the transfer from Oklahoma, is the real deal. You know, obviously with the luck they had last year, you know, with losing 4 quarterbacks, 3 tailbacks. I mean, I was looking at the roster; they've got 7 running backs in camp.
Wow.
You know, including Noel Devine's son, Andre.
Yeah,
he's like 5th on the depth chart, but with a kid like that, you know, I'd have to think that they're gonna somehow, in some form or fashion, find ways to get a kid with that kind of speed, the ball. But you know, they've got lots of quarterback options, running back options. Coach sounded pretty happy with the depth, the size, and the moves they've made in the roster in the offseason. So, and the good news is there's no portal, no other portal to deal with. I mean, what a mess that was. Why would you have spring ball?
No kidding.
And then open up a transfer portal. Made no sense.
I noticed there's no more streaming of the spring game. Is that because of the portal, you think? Like we don't want to show off our talent here or broadcast what we have here?
I think so. There wasn't even a radio call.
I know.
Which kind of stunk, but because I was like, oh, I'll tune in and listen. So
you kind of have to wonder how long the spring games will even last. You know,
some schools don't do them. Nebraska stopped doing them.
Wow.
You know, because what was happening was people were scouting their team
exactly,
and then just making
trying
offers
to show off our talent.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because
right, because it's a fun fan thing, you know, and the weather every year is decent, and the fans get to come out and see what we might, you know, that was always a fun thing for the fans. I hope it doesn't go away.
Yeah, and especially because you're able to make that donation to the Children's Hospital
right?
too. So
exactly,
I'd hate for they probably make a few bucks off of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, to switch gears a little bit, let's talk about some Marshall action. Marshall softball with 80 home runs, a new record.
Wow.
That's insane.
Yeah, so I saw that come across my feed, and I was like, or maybe I saw it on ESPN. I can't remember, but I was like 80 home runs. I had to go and check it. That's a lot of dingers.
That is a lot of home runs.
The fact that you hit 80 in one season, man, they're crushing it down there, and the fact that it's a pretty new program, that just goes to show that there's been a need for softball at the Division I level in West Virginia for quite some time, and they're Marshall's, I think, 23rd in the country.
Wow,
they've got a good team down there. So kudos to those ladies. Now that I know they're hitting so many home runs, I want to take a trip down there and go watch them play.
Their head coach, I actually went to Marshall with their head coach, Morgan Circle, and she was an impressive softball player at Marshall back in the day. So I'm not shocked that they're performing as well as they are.
Yeah, I'm going to have to keep my eye on it because, the Sun Belt, that's a pretty tough league as well. And softball's so much fun. People used to kind of relate it to like the girls' version of baseball, but it's a totally different game.
It is.
It's a faster game. It's actually, a hot ground ball to third. You got to pick that thing up and throw it. The bases are shorter. The distances are shorter. It's a tough game to play. Let's see. What else do we have on? Oh, I have some, before we get out of here, I got the opportunity to talk to Chris Sabo on Saturday. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. You guys remember Chris Sabo from his
absolutely.
days with the Cincinnati Reds, but I had the opportunity to quickly ask him what it was like to be back here in Reds country. Let me play this for you, and then we'll get out of here.
I used to do the Reds Caravan quite a bit when I was a player, and done a few since I retired, and I always took the southern trip, so we always came through West Virginia and Kentucky, and you're right, this is a lot of Reds fans down here, so it's good. You always like to go places where people sort of like you.
That was a cool little fundraiser for the Nitro Little League.
Oh, that is cool.
So that he was there signing cards, and what was cool was if you were one of the Little League kids and you came in, you got a patch that commemorated opening day, and you got one Chris Sabo card.
Awesome.
That is
so
cool.
They got the opportunity to go.
I'm sure the boys and girls love that.
Well, thank you guys so much for checking it out this week on Game On. If you missed any part of the show, want to go back and listen to it, head over to GameOnWV.com, where the show will be archived, and you can listen to that on Apple or Spotify. We'll see you next week.
Game On is produced by Anthony Lewis for 304 Digital Media in partnership with Vandalia Media.